She walked in quietly, dressed simply but with unmistakable elegance. The kind of presence that commands attention not because it demands it, but because it just exists. Melania Trump, known worldwide, was in one of the most exclusive boutiques in the city. Yet, something was off. The glances were quick, but not friendly. The whispered conversation stopped as she passed by. It wasn't subtle, and it wasn't accidental. The message was clear: she didn't belong here, at least not in their eyes. The staff didn't rush to greet her, didn't offer her the curated experience they reserved for their important customers. It could have ended there. A quiet dismissal, unnoticed by anyone outside those walls. But what happened next shifted everything. A moment that no one, least of all those who thought they had her figured out, could have anticipated. If you were her, standing in that boutique, feeling the weight of unspoken judgment, what would you do? Walk away? Speak up? Or turn the situation into something unforgettable? Let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the full story, because what happened next is something you have to hear to believe. This story takes us to one of the most exclusive shopping districts in New York. The streets were alive with the understated luxury of high-end boutiques, places where the elite came not just to shop but to assert their status. The boutique in question was one of the crown jewels, known for its impeccable service and a clientele list that read like a who's who of society. A place where discretion was prized, but so was judgment. Melania Trump entered quietly. She wasn't surrounded by an entourage or cameras. This wasn't a red carpet moment. It was supposed to be simple, a private visit. Her elegance, as always, spoke for itself. Yet, something in the air shifted as she moved through the space. The boutique manager, an ambitious woman named Sophia, prided herself on spotting the right kind of customer at a glance. And in this moment, she hesitated. Was it because Melania wasn't dressed in the loud signals of wealth the store often catered to? Or was it something else? Whatever the reason, Sophia made a choice, a quiet but deliberate one, to dismiss her presence as unimportant. An assistant nearby whispered, "Should we?" gesturing subtly toward Melania. But Sophia waved her off with a slight shake of her head, as if to say, "Not now." For viewers watching, let me ask you, what would you have done if you were in Sophia's shoes? Or better yet, if you were Melania? Would you confront the judgment head-on? Or quietly leave, knowing you'd been written off before you even had a chance to speak? What happened next wasn't a confrontation. There were no raised voices, no scenes. Instead, it was a quiet, calculated response that none of them saw coming. Melania didn't just accept the slight. She acted, and that action set off a chain of events that would leave the boutique scrambling to repair its reputation. As Melania walked through the boutique, her poise remained steady, but the atmosphere told a different story. The staff's lack of attention wasn't just a slip in service, it felt deliberate. When she finally paused to inquire about a specific item, the response she received was short, dismissive, and left little room for interpretation. The words weren't loud, but the tone carried an unspoken message: "You're not who we cater to." A few other customers glanced over, sensing the awkwardness in the exchange. But Melania didn't flinch. She continued with the same calm demeanor, as if the remark hadn't been made. Perhaps she was used to such moments, or maybe she was calculating her next step. And then came the breaking point. The manager, Sophia, approached with a polished smile that felt more like a mask. Her words, meant to dismiss politely, struck harder than intended. "We typically reserve these pieces for our usual clientele." The boutique fell silent. Even the soft murmur of conversations in the background seemed to pause. The weight of the remark hung in the air, sharp and unmistakable. Sophia clearly didn't realize who she was speaking to, or perhaps she didn't care. But Melania didn't react the way anyone expected. Instead of responding with anger or a cutting remark, she stood for a moment, her expression unchanging. And then, with a voice as composed as ever, she simply said, "That's fine. I'll make my selection myself." Her tone was calm, almost disarming in its grace, yet it carried an undeniable authority. The silence lingered as she continued browsing, unbothered by the pointed stares or whispered conversations. It wasn't what she said, it was the way she refused to let the moment define her. Let me ask you this, if you had been in that situation, would you have handled it the same way? Or would you have called them out right then and there? These moments of quiet strength often speak louder than words, don't they? Melania quietly walked to the door of the boutique. She didn't call for a manager. She didn't demand an apology. Her steps were deliberate, measured. Those watching expected something dramatic, a confrontation or perhaps a sharp word. But she simply left, the sound of the door closing behind her the only indication she had been there at all. To the boutique staff, it might have seemed like the end of an awkward moment, something they could easily move past. But for Melania, it was far from over. That exit wasn't a retreat, it was the beginning of something much bigger. By the next day, whispers of the encounter started to spread. A few of the boutique's employees, perhaps feeling uneasy about what had happened, let the details slip to others. Soon, the story was out in the open, and it gained momentum in ways the boutique could never have anticipated. Headlines captured the event with an intensity that caught even those closest to Melania off guard. And then came her response, a move so precise, so calculated, that it sent shockwaves far beyond the walls of that boutique. She didn't take to social media to call them out. She didn't release a public statement demanding accountability. Instead, she turned the moment into something unforgettable. Here's where it gets interesting, Melania's approach wasn't just about setting the record straight. It was a quiet, deliberate demonstration of power that forced everyone watching to reconsider their assumptions. It wasn't loud or confrontational, it was something much harder to ignore. Now, take a moment and think, how would you have reacted? Would you have walked away silently, or would you have confronted the situation in the moment? Do you think grace and patience are the stronger tools, or do they leave too much unsaid? As the details of Melania's experience surfaced, the reaction was immediate and loud. Social media became a battleground for opinions, with hashtags trending overnight. The boutique's name was dragged into conversations worldwide, and people were quick to weigh in. Some called out the management for their apparent disregard and poor treatment of a high-profile customer, while others argued it was simply a misunderstanding. It wasn't just casual observers who chimed in. Public figures and influencers joined the conversation, amplifying the story. Some used the moment to highlight broader issues, like how judgment can cloud fairness, even in environments designed to cater to the elite. Others sympathized with Melania directly, emphasizing that no one, regardless of status, deserves to be dismissed so casually. But what truly surprised everyone was the diversity of the support Melania received. Even individuals who had previously criticized her found common ground in the principle of respect. Comments like "this isn't about politics, it's about treating people with dignity" echoed across platforms. The boutique, now under immense scrutiny, was left scrambling to respond as more and more people demanded answers. Amid the growing outrage, Melania remained silent. She didn't rush to issue a public statement or react to the speculation. Instead, her earlier actions began to take on a deeper meaning for those watching closely. The way she handled the situation, without raising her voice or pointing fingers, resonated in a way no words could. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen someone respond to a difficult situation with such composure that it left a lasting impression? Do you think staying silent is more powerful than speaking out? These questions are at the heart of why this moment continues to captivate so many. Days passed, and while the boutique scrambled to manage the fallout, Melania remained quiet. The silence only fueled the speculation. Many wondered, would she address what happened? Or let the moment fade into the noise of the next headline? Then, just as the story seemed to reach its peak, she made her move. Through her platform, Melania released a statement. It wasn't fiery or accusatory. Instead, it was marked by the same elegance she had displayed in the boutique. Her words were measured, deliberate, and struck a chord that echoed far beyond the incident itself. She wrote about the importance of treating every individual with respect, regardless of their appearance, status, or circumstance. Without naming names or pointing fingers, her statement carried an undeniable message: kindness and professionalism should never be optional. Her response quickly went viral. People shared her words with captions like, "This is how you handle criticism with class," and "a reminder that dignity always wins." It wasn't just a moment of vindication for Melania, it was a spark that reignited conversations about respect and equality in all spaces, especially in industries where appearances are often the deciding factor. What made her response even more powerful was what followed. Instead of focusing on the boutique or demanding public apologies, she shifted the conversation entirely. She collaborated with a global organization focused on empowering individuals in customer-facing industries, spotlighting the pressures they face and the importance of building inclusive environments. Her actions turned what could have been a fleeting controversy into a movement that inspired change. Think about this: how many times have we seen people let anger dictate their response? And how often does that lead to anything meaningful? Melania's approach wasn't about reacting in the heat of the moment, it was about taking a step back and using her influence to create something lasting. Now, imagine if every one of us approached conflict with that same grace and focus. How much could we achieve if we channeled our energy into solutions instead of retaliation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the way Melania handled this? Would you have done the same? And if this story left you inspired, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's so much we can learn from moments like these, and your thoughts could inspire someone else watching. This story isn't just about a single moment in a luxury boutique. It's a powerful reminder of how the smallest actions, a glance, a dismissive word, or a simple assumption, can carry consequences far beyond what we imagine. For the boutique, it was a missed opportunity to practice what they claimed to stand for: exceptional service. For those watching, it became a moment of reflection, forcing many to question their own behavior. Think about it: how often do we form judgments based solely on appearances? How many times do we let assumptions guide our actions before giving someone a chance to show who they really are? In this case, a quiet but profound lesson emerged: respect doesn't cost anything, yet its absence can come at a high price. What made this story resonate wasn't just the treatment Melania received, but the way she responded. Her calm, composed reaction spoke volumes. It reminded us all that dignity and grace can disarm even the most dismissive attitudes. And her ability to turn that experience into a conversation about respect shows that moments of adversity can be transformed into opportunities for growth. So, let me ask you this: how often do we pause to consider the impact of our actions? How different would our daily lives look if we chose to approach every interaction with kindness? These are questions worth reflecting on, not just in a boutique, but in every corner of our lives. Take a moment to think back to a time when you felt judged or dismissed. How did it shape you? And more importantly, how did you respond? If this story has made you reflect, share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else watching to see the world a little differently. Melania Trump's calm and composed reaction took what could have been a fleeting, humiliating moment and transformed it into a story that resonated across the globe. Her decision to respond with dignity and focus sparked conversations far beyond that boutique's doors, leaving us all with something to think about. This isn't just a story about a public figure, it's a story about how we choose to navigate moments when we're undervalued or misunderstood. Melania didn't let anger define her actions. Instead, she showed that grace has its own kind of strength, one that speaks louder than words ever could. Now, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt judged unfairly? How did you handle it? Did you stay calm, or did you respond differently? Let us know in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to approach a difficult situation with patience and perspective. If this video has made you pause and think, don't keep it to yourself, hit the like button and share it with someone who might find it meaningful. And if you want to see more stories that challenge the way we look at the world, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you stories that matter. Thank you for watching, and remember, every interaction, no matter how small, carries the potential to leave a lasting impact. Let's all strive to make that impact a positive one.